Over the weekend, UN Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt, the special envoy for monitoring and combating anti-Semitism, called Hamas' attack on Israel the most lethal attack against Jews since the Holocaust. Now, in the aftermath of the attack, thousands of miles away, we are seeing law enforcement in major U.S. cities ramping up security around Jewish communities and synagogues, as well as Islamic mosques. Back with me tonight, former Florida Congressman Ted Deutch. He is now the CEO of the American Jewish Committee. And my dear friend Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO and National Director of the Anti-Defamation League. He wrote the book. It is a must-read. It Could Happen Here: Why America is Tipping from Hate to the Unthinkable and How We Can Stop It. I am so sorry to you both. The last 72 hours are unthinkable, but you've been on my mind. What is it like for you tonight? What have the last 2 days been like?
Well, look, I haven't gotten any sleep. You know, I feel both saddened and exhausted and angry. But first and foremost, my hearts go out to these victims, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families who lost grandparents, who lost husbands and wives, sons and daughters. I mean, the stories are more and more barbaric. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been just eviscerating to be here and watching this. And, you know, you said something in your lead-in that we need to talk about. The reality is we've seen time and again that incidents in Israel cause anti-Semitism at home, right? This pathology of blaming the Jews, it explodes. And we're seeing rallies right now in America, again, blaming the Jews, blaming Israel for the rape and mutilation of her citizens. And so, yeah, there are security corridors around synagogues. There are police stationed outside Jewish day schools. There are JCCs are fortifying. Think about that world where a Jewish community center has to fortify itself like a fortress because of fear of attacks from people who hate Jews. All this while they're still counting the bodies in Israel. It's a terrible situation.
Listen, what we've seen since this started is the most barbaric, the most brutal attack by terrorists against Israel. It's the most lethal attack against Jews since the Holocaust. It is horrific. And this is a moment that requires the world to stand together. There aren't two sides here. There is the side of morality and decency.
Humanity.
And the side of evil. And what we saw and continue to see, and what your last interview so powerfully showed, that the poor woman whose last contact was the terrorists, they are here. There are over 100 Israeli civilians, a Holocaust survivor, babies, senior citizens who were hauled into Gaza by these vile terrorists. The world needs to stand together against that. The statement today from the president and the leaders of the UK and Germany and France and Italy reasserting their commitment as friends of Israel to Israel's right to defend itself is an important statement of where the civilized world stands and where we all must continue to stand with Israel and against this kind of horrific terrorism.
What do you think about the fact that we're not actually seeing, though that we are seeing support from our government, other governments, we're not actually seeing full-throated support for Israel against these attacks from all sorts of institutions in the last 72 hours?
I mean, look, I have talked to so many people who are saying, where is my university president? Why hasn't he or she issued a simple statement to say, we stand with Israel against this barbarism? We have members of Congress who have not yet said the obvious, which is that these crimes against Israel were crimes against humanity. I want to show them the videos on my phone of Hamas terrorists who murdered a baby's parents and then took this child, maybe 15 months old, to Gaza and humiliated her and mocked her. It's all right here. I want to talk them. I want to introduce them to my friend Daron. 6 members of his family were slaughtered. I want to introduce them to the family of the Holocaust survivor who was burned to death in her home. Now, these aren't like dramatic flourishes. Stephanie, we have the videos because these barbarians videotape themselves committing the most grotesque crimes. So this is ISIS, this is Al-Qaeda, this is the Taliban. And so to the people protesting in front of my office tonight, telling me resistance by any means necessary, that happened. To the people marching in cities saying that Zionism is racism or whatever, anti-Zionism isn't anti-Semitism, Stephanie. It's a genocidal ideology that objectifies Jews and creates the conditions in which people so dehumanize women, they drag them bleeding from the crotch through Gaza like trophies, hauling bodies from the backs of Jeeps. Like, this is what we have the footage of. Imagine a world in which people think this is permissible and the people around them are hooting and hollering. This is actually, it is Al-Qaeda, it is ISIS, it is Nazi. Because I remember the stories about how the Nazis went house to house in Warsaw and liquidated the ghetto. That's what happened in these Israeli towns. They killed friends of mine. Like, this is personal for all of us here.
And it's really important. Jonathan makes such an important point. And people need to understand how small a country Israel is. There are 300,000 civilians who have been called into military duty. The woman who runs our office in Jerusalem was called to serve.
Only 9 million people live there.
Right. Her son was called to serve. Her husband was called to serve. They're in 3 different parts of the country. You're seeing that everywhere. Multiple generations of the same family coming to defend their country against what? Against Hamas. Those people who are protesting, who are standing and screaming against Israel, they're standing on the side of an organization whose charter is devoted to making clear their goals of killing Jews, of eliminating the state of Israel. The charter's 35 years old. This isn't new. There's nothing there. There's nothing that we've seen from Hamas that leads anyone to conclude that their interest is in anything other than mayhem and bloodshed and murdering and massacring Jews. This is a pogrom against the Jews. It's a massacre, and it's an ongoing massacre. That's the way they're approaching this. The world needs to see that. And so for everyone who stands up and decides that they're going to protest, that's who they're standing with. And if their kids or their cousins or their neighbors were being dragged out of their beds, or their kids were at a music festival where 260 young people were gunned down, if that's what they're supporting, then they're on the wrong side, not only of this issue, but of history. They should be ashamed of themselves.
I mean, they are accomplices. When you rationalize rape, when you legitimize mass murder, 260 unarmed teenagers shot in the back while they ran. I heard stories about people who were shot in the legs and immobilized and then raped. So look, I saw the prior segment, and Jeremy Basher, someone I deeply respect, he said, this is an intelligence failure. It was a technology failure. It was a military failure. Stephanie, this was a moral failure on our part. Because what Ted said is right. Ted had it exactly right. The charter doesn't say a two-state solution, which I happen to believe in. Doesn't say a Palestinian nation, which I thought was a good idea. It says to destroy the Zionist entity. And to those policymakers and their accomplices who launder their hate and allow and permit their bigotry, who said, we can make a détente with them. The blood is on their hands. And, please, I will say one last thing to your script writers and the people in the back. Like, stop calling them fighters. Stop calling them militants. They're barbarians and terrorists. Stop saying this is a retaliation, what the Israelis are doing.
I can assure you,
yes.
we are not saying that here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I spent the day today speaking with my former colleagues in the House and members of the Senate about what they're going to do and how quickly they can get it done. And we don't know in the House, obviously, because we're at a moment no one's ever experienced where they kicked out a speaker. We don't know how quickly it can happen. But the commitment from all across the political aisle, Democrats and Republicans alike, to, again, standing with Israel, which is standing not only for decency, it's standing for peace. That commitment is strong, and we're going to continue to do all that we can to make sure that what we see coming from Washington tracks what we hear coming from thoughtful, dedicated Americans who recognize that at a moment of crisis for our ally, when Israel is under assault by terrorists, there is no choice but to stand with our democratic ally.